Hello again. I have to say good afternoon from my time zone at least. And as promised, we start the series of our roundtable discussion, which I'm very happy to have because we've had like 2 days of a lot of insights, examples, experience sharing from our international experts, and now we'll be discussing it with also our local experts. So first roundtable discussion I will run, how AI could increase your productivity at work. I'm especially happy to co-create this event together with Microsoft, and I will be co-moderate this with Magda Kasiewicz, Customer Success Lead from Microsoft. Welcome, Magda. It's great to have you here with me at the studio. And so let me introduce all the other panelists. Can we see the rest of the panelists? Oh my gosh, hello. Great to see you all. I have to move a bit to see you all. So let me introduce every one of you. We have Aleksandra Oleitner, DZP, with us. Hello, Ola. We have Aleksandra.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello. We have Aleksandra Przegalnińska from Koźmiński University. Cześć, Ola. Hello.
Hello.
We have Konrad Maj, SWPS University.
Hello, everyone.
We have Dorota Dublanka from KIR.
Hello, everyone.
We have Monika Stołowska, here, from Alior Bank.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
We have with us in studio Aleksandra Trojanowska from Orlen.
Hello.
And from Microsoft, we have Basia Michalska and Paweł Wróbel together at the office. Hello, Basia and Paweł. And we have Daniel Holme, our special guest. Daniel will be speaking as the first person. I will introduce you in a second. And we have 2 journalists with us, Michał Wąsowski from Business Insider and Łukasz Kotkowski from Spider's Web as well. Hello. So I think all of us are here, surprisingly. Thank you. It's a hybrid example of roundtable discussion. And let me introduce Daniel. Daniel is waiting to speak to us. Daniel is CEO of Sataria, a company which uses artificial intelligence to solve exponentially hard efficiency problems. He's an entrepreneur in residence at University College of London. Daniel, over to you.
Hi, yeah, thank you. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you properly.
I think that's the phrase of the year. I'm going to talk about 3 things. So I think that AI can be applied to 3 parts of our organization. The first is the individual and the productivity of the individual on a day-to-day basis. The second is the group and how we enable the group to be more productive. And the third is the organization. I'm going to talk to these 3 points. But before I do that, I want to just clarify some definitions around AI. I know there's a lot of misunderstanding in the media, in the press about these technologies. And unfortunately, AI is being used synonymously with the word technology. And technology is used ultimately to reduce frictions, to remove frictions from within our organizations, to enable us to be more efficient, to enable us to be more effective at work. But AI is a special type of technology. And let me give you 2 definitions. The first one is popular, but I think slightly weaker than the second one, which is getting computers to do things that humans can do. So over the past 10 years, we've managed to get machines to do things that traditionally were only in the domain of human being, recognizing objects and images, corresponding natural language in chatbots, and things like that, things that were traditionally only in the domain of human beings. And because humans are the most intelligent thing we know in the universe, we then attribute that to be intelligence, which I think is very powerful. The second definition actually comes from the definition of intelligence, which is goal-directed adaptive behavior. It's a very different definition. And the key word here is adaptive. How can you build systems, organizations that ultimately make decisions, learn about whether those decisions are good or bad, adapt their own understanding of the world so that tomorrow they can make better decisions? So let's just focus on the first one for now, which is getting computers to do things that humans can do. And particularly, let's look at our individual everyday lives and the things that we do that could be alleviated by AI. So we do a huge amount of information gathering gathering as human beings in our day-to-day work. And now what we can do is we can utilize AI, we can utilize natural language processing to scour this information, to bring all of this text and activities that are going on across our organization, to extract insights from that text, to summarize those insights, and then to provide the individual a summarized, concise version of what's going on. So instead of leaving the human being to have to bring all of this information together, we're now able to use natural language processing and AI to do that for us, which is huge. And that's not just looking at text, but it's also looking at images and video and other content as well. And so beyond that, what we can start to do is use AI to make recommendations. So I can summarize information, summarize our activities that are going on across the organization, but we can also start to use AI to make recommendations about what actions people should do, whether it's clicking a particular button, whether it's writing a particular sentence, all of these things that we're starting to see now in many of the tools that we are utilizing. And I know that the panel have a deep expertise in this area, so I'll leave it to them to bring some of these examples to life. We also are starting to use AI to customize interfaces to the individual. So rather than having the same interface that we all use, we all interact with these systems, these tools in very different ways based on personality, our experience, and we can now start to tune these applications specifically to our personalities, to how we want to work. And I think that over the next few years, we're going to see a different interface for me than for you. So this is kind of like the micro level. All of these frictions that we're experiencing on our day-to-day basis, whether it's writing emails or trying to figure out who to add to meeting requests or setting calendar invites, many of these things we're going to start to see being driven by AI. AI that is consuming all of these different activities, consuming all of this data, extracting insights, and then making recommendations to us about how to proceed. The next level I want to talk about is the group level. So we're as more and more people are now working from home because of COVID, it's becoming more and more important for us to look across all of the digital footprint that we are emitting, the emails that we're sending, the texts that we're writing, the videos that the conferences that we're speaking at, to extract those insights, to understand better the skills of an individual and also the relationship that individual has with others. In most organizations, we have organizational structures. We have org structures that determine your job role, your communication channels, your lines of management. But actually, we know in most organizations there's an informal structure. There's the people that you speak to at the coffee machine and the other people that you rely on for your everyday work that's often not visible across the organization. And because of COVID and because of us working from home, we're able to now extract all of this data across all of our different tools and be able to see both of those different hierarchies, both the organizational hierarchy and also these informal hierarchies, which for me is very exciting, because what it does is it starts to give people opportunities who are often hidden behind the scenes that are actually influencers in your organization, but don't always have the ability to shine. So we're going to start to see the profiling of individuals based on their activities, and we're also going to see the relationships that those individuals have with each other. Now I would say that this can drive a huge amount of value in organizations, because having this view about how our assets, how our people are operating, gives us a lot of power, decision-making power, but it also raises a lot of ethical questions. I can predict, for example, in my company, that there are people that are going to leave the organization before they know they're going to leave the organization. I can see people that might be secret lovers in my company as well. So actually having access to this data, having this visibility, does raise a lot of ethical and interesting questions. On the one hand, it can make organizations very productive, but on the other hand, it can surface things that maybe we shouldn't know. And this is really, for me, a very, very interesting world. But again, what we're seeing maybe in the medium or long term is now starting to use these insights about people's activities, people's relationships, to enable organizations to adapt more quickly to a changing world. Remember, adaptation is synonymous with intelligence. The more adaptive we can be, the more intelligent we are. And I think that over the past few decades, we've seen a flattening of organizations. We've seen the removal of middle managers because of new tools that allow us to communicate better and be more more productive. But I think what we'll start to see is a transition away from flat organizations to more swarm-like organizations where individuals can work across different roles, different projects, and that will be facilitated by AI, by understanding the skills that people have, by understanding the career development that people have, and by using AI to prompt them and allow them to adapt and move fluidly throughout our organizations. So remember, adaptation is synonymous with intelligence. So there's a very good book that I often recommend by a guy called Dan Pink. He wrote a book called Drive, which is what motivates people. And he said there are three things that motivate people. The first is autonomy, giving people the freedom to do the things that they want. And I think that in these swarm-like organizations, and because of AI profiling people, we're going to be able to enable people to identify opportunities that they historically might not have been able to identify. So giving people more freedom to do things that they want. The second one is mastery, giving people the ability to become really good at what they want. And again, if we're starting to look at people's activities, profiling people, we can understand their career trajectories, we can give them opportunities to training, to projects, to allow them to develop themselves both personally and professionally. And finally is purpose. And I think that this is crucial because it's not good enough anymore for organizations just to make profit. The next generation, the millennials, many of the students that I teach, they don't just want to make money. What they want to do is they want to make a positive impact on the world. And my expectation is that the companies that are going to survive are not only the ones that are going to give people freedom to operate, freedom to work, more well-being, more happiness at work, but also have a strong purpose. People want to align themselves with a strong purpose, and I think that those organizations are the ones that are going to survive. Those are the organizations that are going to attract talent, and those are the organizations that are also going to attract consumers. And I think that purpose is going to help us solve many of the problems that we're going to be facing over the coming decades. So just to summarize, there are two definitions of AI: getting computers to do things that humans can do, and then that helps us alleviate many frictions in our day-to-day basis. Goal-directed adaptive behavior, enabling our organizations to adapt more quickly to a changing world. And we have to look at this through three lenses: the individual lens, the group lens, and the organizational lens. And I'll stop there.
Thank you, Daniel. This is really inspiring speech, not the first one which we have heard from you. So I love the idea of this decentralized organizations where actually the focus is on people, their preferences, abilities, and really help them to do what they really love. On the other hand, we know that most of the organizations are still on the journey, at the first step of the journey to AI. So they are not ready yet to help really employees. So my question to Basia and Paweł will be how we practically can help, like now, with the tools and processes that we have, help ourselves to improve our productivity, like daily basis.
Okay, thank you, Magda. So we will, together with Paweł, we will present 4 or 5 examples how today we can use the technology and for actually both purposes Daniel mentioned. So number one is, let's say, enabling people to reduce the friction of everyday work and the repetition and setting up the right processes for this. And second angle we would like to discuss as well is also helping people to adapt and change the behaviors a little bit. So, and both angles, Daniel, you mentioned, both individual and organizational will be in place here. So I will pass my voice to Paweł, and Paweł will talk you through the 4 or 5 examples we have.
Yeah, and since we are both from Microsoft, we're going to show it to you from Microsoft's perspective. First of all, in Microsoft, we treat the AI very seriously. So we also think about things like ethical use and making sure that it doesn't discriminate, for example, people. And when we think about the productivity and how the AI can help, we have different angles. First of all, just like those small little things that really humans shouldn't do. Paraphrasing what you said, the AI should start doing things that people really shouldn't do because machine can do it pretty well, and they will not get bored with that, and they will not make mistakes. So simple things like creating PowerPoint slides when when you type few keywords, then the PowerPoint can make it really nice looking at all the icons, at the pictures that are fitting. Or for example, when you paste some text and to the Excel file, and then Excel understands what's this type of data and converts it automatically, so you don't have to correct each cell by yourself. So this is like those simple things that take a lot of our time every day that could be easily automated. Second part is giving the AI to the masses. So it's not only the big data and analysis tuning in the fine models that we have, but also just giving tools that every employee can, for example, train their own program to recognize how one product is different from another and be able to tag it automatically. Or when you take your phone, make a photo of an invoice, and the system automatically knows where is the name, where is the value, where is the title of the invoice, and can tag this document automatically. So those things that allow you to tune in your own processes. So after learning the system how to react to a new document, new email, or new picture, then the system can do everything by itself. Next thing is what you are calling the adaptation, also swarming. So the ability to reason over both data, but also our interactions. Because if we're using the system, if we're planning calendar, if we're talking over the system with emails, with chat, with meetings, then the system can also learn who's important in our work life, who we are working every day, what topics are important for us, in which topics we are experts, and so on. And based on all this information, we are able to build a graph of relationship between both the data and the people. And with this graph, we're able to give the people more insights about what data is laying in our systems, what people are doing, and in what areas they're able to help us. This includes also automatically building databases and knowledge bases inside our organization by selecting keywords, selecting key topics, and then orchestrating people around those topics. This is something we call the Microsoft Project Cortex, which is now being deployed, and every organization will be able to use it to build their own databases using AI to understand the data and group everything by topics. And the fourth part is the ability for AI to also manage our time and put focus on most important things. So AI is also able to understand who we are working with, where we spend our time, and let us know that, for example, you are spending a lot of time with these people. Are you sure that they're giving you the biggest productivity that you need? Maybe you should talk more with your manager. Maybe you should talk more with the group that you're working with, because they might help you do your job better. Also, AI can understand what you are doing during the day and tell you, listen, Pavel, you are sending a lot of emails after work, and this is causing other people to answer your emails after work. If you stop that, maybe you'll have better work-life balance. And this is from the personal perspective, but also organization can look at this data, of course, in aggregated view, in anonymized view, exactly, Gosia. So it can see that, for example, this working group is working a lot of time after hours. Maybe we can help them. Let's see what's happening inside. And also with this digital feedback, going back to those people and coaching them. Listen, guys, you don't have to work after hours. If you need to write an email, write it today, but send it tomorrow in the morning. So AI is also able to understand how you're working and give you those tips to help you be more productive.
So all in all, we just think that productivity has also changed the definition from, let's say, the assembly line that we used to think as productivity master to the productivity where you actually have to find time to work efficiently, to work creatively, and to work innovatively, and to find time also not to spend time to spend your whole day at work, but also to spend a lot of time with your family and to have healthy balance of both work and private life. So I think this is where we aim with the AI story, and I think these are all the examples we prepared.
Great, thank you for some tips also. So from the latest report from Skills and AI, we can read that 55% of organizations in 10 years in Poland will use AI daily basis, employees actually. Then my question to panelists will be, are we ready for this change?
So we have two people from academic side, Konrad and Ola. So you're working with them to make them ready for the market.
Okay, so let me say a few words about our research. So last year we conducted a nationwide research on AI, and the results showed that about 62% do not understand this topic, even this term AI. About 52% believe that work on AI should be carried out with caution. So this result showed anxiety in different levels. But of course, as we know, today many people will lose their jobs, but many will gain them. So we need more flexibility and openness and, of course, education in this term. So I think this is a challenge for us. Actually, in our university, because let me mention about also about our project, because we don't have any clients. Actually, we have only students, and we have a lot of data on students regarding students. So now we are going to process this, and we are preparing the entire system. We want to know what classes they have completed, with what results, and what competence they obtained. What classes students should do to achieve their goals. We also take into account their interest. We can then build the entire path of studying them. So on general level, we want to know also what determines effective study, what motivates people, what motivates our students. So then we can constitute we will also in the next step look at the careers of scientists. How can we shape their development? Of course, this is we are at the beginning. We just received grant for it, but this is what we do at our university. Because, of course, at the university, AI is not such popular, and in companies, AI is hype nowadays. Everybody is talking about using AI to predict clients' behavior, for example, to adjust product, to personalize product. But of course, at universities, this is completely a different reality. But I hope even at university, AI will be very, very useful. But we have to at the beginning collect more data, yes, because if you want to use machine learning, and then process this data, so at the beginning we have to collect more data. So I hope it will be very effective, very productive, because we are talking about productivity. So we have to talk about productivity of students also. So this is example how can we use AI, but as I said before, it takes more time to gather, to collect data. Yeah, this is my, let's say, contribution to this discussion. But of course, the problem that I mentioned at the beginning of my talk is very, very important, because as we remember, for example, Cecilia Elworthy said that we are not prepared for what scares us. And also Ananita Mahadam talked about awareness, about habits, about challenging our own perception, about listening to others, about importance of feeling control. So if we're talking about AI, we have to take into account the psychological processes, because I see also that my students are afraid of AI. I'm teaching AI. I talk to them about of course, some advantages and disadvantages, but still I see that they have more fears than hopes toward AI.
Okay, interesting. I was just thinking about if students are scared about AI, how the big organization that might be
So, and one technical comment, speak freely, like whoever, because it's a roundtable discussion, so whoever wants to say something, not waiting for permission.
Yes, so I would say that we are overplaying the importance of digital tools, and I think we're underplaying the importance of individuals and the business owners. So as we do it in our company, we perceive it that the digital transformation should be pulled, not pushed. By pull, I mean that we should listen carefully to what business says, to what the problems are, what kind of pain points there are, and then we pick and choose the right technology to implement, not the other way around. What we can push, on the other hand, is the knowledge, the training, the possibilities, and show them to our employees. Yeah, so that's it.
Any comments on that? Yeah. Dorota, if you want.
If I may add something.
Yes.
I think that the basic fact we need to talk about here is that any change, especially huge change that AI brings, will meet the huge resistance throughout employees. It's a natural process. Employees, organizations usually resist the change, and the change management becomes one of the most crucial skills in implementing any technology, but especially AI. And I must say, with a bit of sadness, because I think media is responsible for this narrative that AI will make many employees disposable or it will take our jobs. It's true to some extent, but actually AI and technologies make people more productive by giving them time, right? They can see the repeatable jobs, the repeatable tasks to AI, and then they have more time to focus on the more demanding tasks. And that's the narrative we all should be talking about, because as long as we see AI as a threat to jobs, then it will meet a huge resistance in organizations. And I think it's kind of a basis here to even talk about implementing it.
Ola Przegalińska, how is it?
Yeah, I think...
Dorota, okay. Please, Dorota.
Yeah, I will add to this fear, because, everybody is talking about, okay, we have to implement AI, but there's a lot of fear within the employees, because we also, whether we are going to the reports, like by Deloitte, we can find that AI adopters prefer to hire new employees than to keep the talent and retrain the talent. So for me, the most important question is how to skill the gap and how to retrain our people and give them the space to gain the new skills and to stay at work, not to replace. So first of all, for years we were telling our employees, you are the owner of your development, you are accountable for that. But now I think that we should take the place also to support in this aspect, and also give the space which is really safe, that we are starting to play with the technology and we are the one who is involved, like we were doing with implementing the design thinking or agile workspace. I think that it's important just to create like agile coaches, etc., supporting the people to understand and to make their own definitions. So also, some companies, they are going with the chief happiness officer, but the different definition. So they are monitor the moods, gather the insights, and help the employees to work with the artificial intelligence as they are having they now. Like, some Gartner is telling that in recent report that by 2022, 1 of 5 workers will have a machine as their co-worker. So what does it mean? So also there's a fear how to make. But on the other hand, like in our company, we have the tools with the chatbots, which are helping us in our day-to-day business. And it's important that we really understand that, and we are, let's say, using the power, how we can increase the time we have to be to use our other skills like problem solving, critical thinking, and creativity, even to be curious. So I think this focus that implementing the new technology is giving us the space to do something better. And the second one, to have also better work-life balance.
Maybe I can add something from the lawyer's perspective here as well. Because, looking at the question, like whether the country or whether we are prepared for these changes connected with the AI, I think that no country is really prepared for it, and a lot of the changes in the legal environment will have to be have to be introduced, and not only in the Polish law but also on the European Union level and international conventions. And there will be a lot of changes in copyright law, IT law, data protection, and as well as employment law. And I think that there are a lot of areas that need to be addressed and rethink a lot of concepts that are from the previous century, and not always compatible with what we are dealing right now. It's so, for example, the new legal and ethical standards will have to be regarding the production or the use of AI in the workplace will need to be introduced. The European Commission is working on them right now, slowly. We'll have to probably rethink the civil law provisions on the liability for damage made by AI, and the insurance requirements regarding using AI in the workplace. This is also something that is important. We will probably also need to rethink the concept of copyright law when it comes to the ownership of and the protection of AI-generated content. This is also something that is being discussed right now. There is also this big discussion, and we also, I think, started talking about it. This risk of elimination of certain number of jobs. We don't really know right now whether and how social security systems will compensate for the elimination of these jobs. We know that some companies will probably bear the part of the costs, for example, paying for the retraining, but many people know that that many employees will probably become unemployed and will not be able to be retrained very quickly. So this requires new solutions to be introduced to the legal systems, like, for example, unconditional basic income. We talked about it yesterday. We have to think about it, whether it is necessary or it should be universal, European Union unconditional basic income, or even worldwide, like we heard yesterday. We will probably have to think about the reduction of the maximum working hour as a solution if this unconditional basic income is not introduced, because the existing jobs will have to be allocated to maybe more employees. Nobody really knows that right now, but this is also a concept that is being discussed. Probably the countries will have to think about whether certain jobs can be performed exclusively by humans in order not to have any ethical conflicts, like caring of the disabled, or I don't know, certain issues related to administrative tasks or defense tasks of the state. Also, although I'm not a labor law lawyer, but I think that also in the labor law, the majority of labor law regulations are somehow connected with the previous concept of how the work should be structured. So probably the laws governing the working hours, occupational safety laws, or even the laws regulating the employee representatives or trade unions probably will require to be revised. Because maybe working, maybe home office, and maybe the connection with the digital work and introduction of certain new forms of work will require different employee representative bodies that we are used to, different than trade unions, because the trade unions are all to the old definition of the company or employment. So these are fascinating issues for lawyers right now to think about, but many of these issues are still not tackled or resolved. So this is a fascinating time.
For sure. Anyone who'd like to comment on that or add something from your side?
Yes, well, perhaps I could add just a few words. Thank you for the invitation. What I would say is that we generally are in a very interesting moment of AI's application, right? So we are no longer in a moment of discourse about artificial intelligence and what it can change, but also very much in the production moment already, where we see how sectors that are particularly very algorithmic, such as logistics, transportation, the medical sector to a certain extent, obviously the financial sector, are already being transformed through artificial intelligence. And I think it's a very important moment right now to really focus on the future of these workspaces, because we can have some relevant data already at this point. So we've also conducted as a not local, but international team. So I don't know to what extent that's kind of applicable to Poland specifically, but we've conducted a research on cobotization, understood as a concept that is contrary to automation, right? When you think about automation as something that takes the job away from humans, we are more thinking about co-designing spaces to create kind of synergetic effects between humans and machines in their specific domains. And was quite interesting because our first selection was marketers, and that was on the individual level. So we did not really tackle groups or teamwork, but like individual work that we were trying to really granularly kind of chunk into smaller pieces. So understand how your complex activity throughout the day can be conveyed in an algorithmic manner, saying that this is this, and then you have the next part of your job, because usually our works are very complex, and we are very often even not aware of the fact how complex internally they are, and how hard it is for an algorithm to really represent what we're doing in an adequate manner. So what we did was we've constructed a set of different tools after interviewing marketers, and we wanted to see to what extent we can build systems that really respond to their needs. And it turned out that no generic AI tool can really be useful here, right? So you cannot have generic tools that are going to be applied to people because they have different pace of work and they have different needs. Some of them want help in financial budgeting aspects, and some of them want help in contacting the customers or getting some insight from the market. And we've tried to design several versions of those assistants that are supposed to do that job for you, the job that you want it to do. And it turned out that when you create a more personalized system, even if it's a very simple one with the usage of very simple framework, still you're getting 40% increase in effectiveness. But that's even less important, I guess, than the fact that people were generally way more satisfied with the work that they've done if they were working with the assistant. So contrary to the group that was working individually without any help, it turned out that if you create an assistive, supportive tool that is personalized and where the person kind of feels that they're in charge of co-creation of that system, their happiness generally with the outcome is also much, much better. So we're going to probably publish that soon. And I guess it's kind of perhaps a contribution to this discussion about to what extent can you really create systemic generic AI tools for different sectors or across sectors, or contrary, to what extent you should focus also on particular teams or even individuals and their specific needs.
Thank you, Ola. Monika, you're also responsible for people and a bank. So what's your perspective? I'd love to hear.
Yes, hello everyone. Yes, in Alior Bank we already have artificial intelligence. We use some chatbots, speech analytics, machine learnings, and we really accelerate in implementation. And I must say that I have two perspectives. One perspective is the perspective of employee. So my experience for this moment is that we rather automate tasks than the jobs. However, depending on the level or the position you are, the different opinion among employees we have. So our strategy is to create such an environment to be able to employ experts to eliminate these routine jobs in which we have really high fluctuation, and it's really difficult to find people and to retain them. To give them possibility to really and fully create and have this potential to be able to grow inside of the organization. However, it's not possible without reskilling programs, and I must say that this is one of the most crucial part of our strategy. So we are wondering how to prepare people to the changes in the job specific to be able to have different roles in the future based on the internal resources. So this would be the one perspective. And the second one is the perspective of my function I manage, so the function of HR, where I can have higher productivity, efficiency, and can have really better employee experience because it's easier for them to find information, to even have the right trainings or even have a special hotline, or even we are wondering about the feedback, using feedback, implementing AI in feedback process, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. May I add something to the previous what was said, and to Konrad and Alexandra? I think that very important is the purpose and is why, and whether we are implementing and thinking about implementing the new technology and artificial intelligence is to help people to find their own why and the purpose in this process, because they will be much more aligned. And the second one, what Alexandra said, is the co-creation. If the people can co-create and even make the simple, let's say, have at the beginning a simple, small impact, is very important for them that they're doing so. And they are so proud that they are not afraid to go into the further step, and they are taking the leader or the driver's seat, and it's very important in this process. And they are much more curious and open for the reskilling and finding the new, because they are looking at that not for their own individual purpose and the success for the future.
It's true. I must say that we had to change the model of implementation of AI, automatization and robotics, and we went in democratization pattern. So each of employee can join this group of people who can teach and learn how to automate some tasks and implement robots.
Yeah, exactly. We are also organizing regular AI meetups in our company to build the community. We currently have 100 companies from 26 areas of the organization, so it's quite a vast number. But there was one question asked whether we need to fear that skilled workers would be pulled out of the companies. I would say on the contrary. We need skilled staff more than ever, because as Aleksandra Przegalińska mentioned, generic solutions don't bring as much value in our specific businesses as very tailor-made solutions. So from our perspective, the biggest value lies at the intersection of areas, and we definitely need the business expertise, and that's why when we are working on some digital projects, we engage our experts, and we definitely need them. And as soon as we have them ready, let's not forget that someone needs to maintain these solutions. Someone needs to upgrade them, adjust to changing environments. So it's not the end of the job. Yeah, so I would say that skilled people are at the center of the digital transformation.
True. Konrad, you wanted to
add something? I totally agree with my previous speaker. Involving employees to encourage them to independently look for solutions, to participate in some trainings is very important. And also it's worth showing what programming is, how the drone, for example, or VR is used. For example, what else? I remember yesterday, Rohit showed us how his books are written. It was very interesting presentation, because he is constantly collects various materials and collects them into different categories. Very, very interesting. So constantly reskilling is so important. And as I said before, kind of attitudes toward innovation. But in my opinion, very important basis for AI is to create before atmosphere of trust and cooperation. So before we start to introduce AI, we should introduce more trust and more cooperation. This is a base. We need to also show people that organizational changes, the whole changes, are also the part of their personal development. That it will be something for them interesting, something which can make them more, I don't know, more intelligent, more creative. It's not, not something that could replace them, because everyone afraid of it. It's obvious. Maybe some of you knows this term augmented intelligence. I prefer to talking about augmented intelligence, right? Because when we are talking about artificial intelligence, it scares us, yes, because it's like something, as I said, that can replace us. If we're talking about augmented, it's something that we can cooperate with them, yes, something that we have advantage over them. So we as a human, we want to control everything. We want to be on this planet the most intelligent animal. So I think behind this process of anxiety is process of is anxiety about our humanity, let's say. It's not only about technological fears, it's something more. Because we are not afraid of, I don't know, new tools. We had computers, for example. We had I don't know, airplanes. We had a lot of stuff in the previous times. But now we have something which will be for us dangerous, because it's like different, let's say, kind of human, but more intelligent than we. So this is scary us.
Yeah, I was just. Go on.
Dorota?
Sorry. I remember once upon a time I was on a meeting where Alexandra told the thing which is really interfering in me. She was talking about the uncanny valley and how we are looking over the artificial intelligence and how it is projected over the media, etc. And how in our culture we are looking on that. And Alexandra can correct me, but it was like that in Poland, from some part, we have some kind of the fear, yeah, because it's unknown, it's artificial, etc. And we have to break this fear. In some countries, it's quite different, yeah. So that's why what I'm focusing on is to show the context and to show that it's not like it's shown that it's somebody, the artificial is some human which is superpower human, etc. It's something like that. But it's something which is helping us on a daily matter, and to show the employees the context, not only looking for the working environment, but how this technology is all around us, yeah, and how how they are using that on a daily basis, yeah. So that was really inspiring what Alexandra said, and it was resonating with me.
Alexandra, do you want to add something to that?
Well, I would just say that perhaps we were not looking so much into, very granular reactions. We just saw a very major division between the Western civilization that was generally more hesitant to accept technologies that are more human-like, And for instance, in Japan, we saw some different patterns of acceptance, but nonetheless, this uncanny valley is a fairly prevalent phenomenon. And obviously, we do have some questions regarding whether, the new generation of digital natives will also feel the same, because they are more surrounded by various technologies and interfaces that are kind of friendly and designed to be friendly. So maybe their patterns of communication with technology will be quite different from ours. But up to this point, even when we checked reactions, let's say, of the generation of our students who are currently in their 20s, they were still kind of hesitant to accept technologies that are extremely human-like, right? Whereas they were quite okay with technologies that were more subtle, not so not so much aspiring to be like humans, but then again, for instance, operated with an amazing voice that was almost in a way expressing emotions. And here, for instance, when it comes to voice technologies, it seems like Generation Z and the millennials are very much okay with artificial systems talking to them on the same or even level to the one that we have when humans interact with each other. So we do see here and there some very interesting, promising, exciting, but also perhaps challenging, changes that are happening.
Yeah, although I have to say that I've noticed that the latest version of Sophia has much better mimic than, many of us. Yeah.
But, we are talking about the fear of the unknown here, but there are also other fears of something that is already known, because we already know about certain mistakes of the AI related technologies. Like when we still talk about the employment environment, we already seen the situations where, for example, AI recruitment systems can discriminate candidates on the basis of sex, age, race. There were situations in the past, well known, described by the press, where AI started in the process of the recruitment started to make differences between male and female applicants. There were only because of the linguistic analysis, the system found out that expression used by men in the CV were more convincing for the AI system. That they were because they used the verbs like perform or finish. So the AI found out that the CV written in the masculine language was more effective to the AI and rejected the female applications. So we also see certain gender discrimination in the online job related advertising. This was also described in this issue is so important that is even being described by the High Commissioner of the UN in the report regarding the violation of human rights related to certain tools connected with artificial intelligence. So this fear is not only the fear of the unknown coming, but also the fear of a new reality that we still do not know how to control, because we do not have appropriate regulations. Of course, everyone is talking right now of certain transparency in creating programming related to AI, so that we will be able to see all the prejudice of programmers embedded in the source code of such an AI-related system. But this is still to be done. So these fears are more complex, I think. These fears.
But we have to remember as well that there are many examples of positive reaction. I must say that in our bank we implemented drone for debt collection, and it had higher NPS than the employees who did it before.
Maybe because it seems more scary, but I think that this discrimination example is very interesting because it's not probably the problem of AI itself, but the problem of how we raise kids in society. It's the problem of inequalities in education, for example, because in Poland, we still have this, well, recently I've passed on the street an advert of some extra curriculum for kids at school. And of course, there were lessons of some kind of beauty things for girls. and building stuff, engineering stuff for boys. And I was wondering, why is that still happening? And as long as we don't eliminate this from our social life, AI, no matter how smart and no matter how fast learning, will probably keep making mistakes like this, because it's inevitable in some way. So it's more outcome of how society looks than the problem of AI, although it needs to be solved before it's implemented everywhere, right? So we don't have discrimination in HR, but it's also a kind of a trap regarding productivity and the skills both on single individual level and organization level. I thought a lot about making notes. It's a simple thing. We all probably do it. And many of us do it with voice to text, right? We have this wonderful AI-powered tool that lets us talk to the phone, and the phone makes the text out of it. It's a great thing. But I realized after a few months that it's when I use it and I don't do handwriting, it makes me a little bit disabled in the handwriting and in some parts of thinking, because handwriting is pretty strictly connected to some parts of our thinking process. So I think there are a lot of traps we need to avoid so it can be really productivity. And it's a thin line between boosting productivity and just saying, okay, AI can do that, so I can skip this skill totally. No, because even if you work in HR, for example, and there will be this wonderful solution for filtering CVs that are less relevant for this job, you need to know how this filtering works. You need to know what's in those CVs. You can't just take the CVs that AI gave you and say, okay, I know for sure that that those are the best candidates, right? I need to know that AI may have made a mistake, and those are the traps and threats I see. But generally, I'm really into it. I think it's kind of inevitable to implement it in probably most of our lives.
May I add to that from our perspective, when you were saying about those caveats and also traps that you may fall into, this is something that we are also trying to help organizations to avoid, because when we are building our AI tools, and you know that we're pretty advanced in many areas, we're not keeping the knowledge and the things that we learn while building to ourselves. Microsoft is sharing all the good practices, all the frameworks for building ethical AI. So if anyone of you or our listeners is planning to build AI, I encourage you to take a look at those frameworks. It is from us or other AI building companies. We like to share this knowledge so you can avoid the mistake that we made at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I was just maybe asking because, I think Konrad, yes.
I just want to add some, because I have one idea. I think we should have in each large organization a kind of person, let's say AI advisor or talent manager in terms of Industry 4.0, or maybe, I don't know, artificial intelligence specialist, something like that. A person who will be responsible to, for example, I don't know, to calm the atmosphere at work a bit, also to monitor situations, also when it comes to new technology, to monitor trends, and also to show workers the possibility to how can they find themselves in the new reality in the era of digital transformation. So in my opinion, this person should be partly psychologist, partly, I don't know, IT specialist or engineer, because this is the problem. As I said before, it's a complex problem related with also psychology and also with all the technological stuff. Thank you.
Dorota, you're muted. You're muted.
Okay, I was thinking at the same time what Conrad was thinking, because I noticed the role employee customer success lead, and I was thinking that we need some kind of AI employee success lead within the company, and the teams like they are supporting the agility, so the AI coaches and trainers, just to have them within the organization on the really early basis. And the second point, which I'm always having in my mind, that the HR is also lacking a lot of these skills, and we have starting from ourselves, and it's very important that the HR is skilled and prepared for the future of work, and we are not considering only on the HR, and for me it's key important.
Sure. From my perspective, one person on one team can help a little bit, but can't handle such a change. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, the most critical and crucial one, and from this perspective has a really difficult role, is the manager. The manager who will help people to understand how it influences the employees and how it influences the organization. And for me, this is the clue and key success factor.
Yeah, and I would add that while implementing AI, we should do it in a democratic way. So everyone has their voice. So we engage both the top and the bottom. The people who know where to look for, and the top who give the tone at the top, yeah? So I think that it's a pretty democratic process.
Thank you for that. I think we ran out of time, so Magda, would you like to summarize maybe?
No, I just want to thank you everyone, and it looks like we have fantastic team here talking about, and we gave a lot of advices, I think, to other organizations, and a lot of topics have been done. Thank you very much for coming here and being with us with this discussion.
Thank you so much. And it's like, I think it's moving a bit into the good direction. I like the discussion about the cobotization, which I strongly believe more in than in automation. And that's true that part of the companies who already are deeply into digital transformation, part is at the beginning, a part is still nowhere. So hopefully they will go through the change together. Thank you so much for
thank you very much.
Digital University and Microsoft.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.